Right now on Morning News Now, new developments in the election interference case involving former President Donald Trump. New court filings show all of the co-defendants in the case have now pleaded not guilty. And they've also waived their right to appear in court for arraignment today in Georgia. We're also following a separate case going on in Texas, another not guilty plea in a historic impeachment trial for one of Trump's biggest defenders, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. We have team coverage with the latest. Also this morning, it's going to be another scorcher. Right now, tens of millions of Americans are waking up to heat alerts with triple-digit temps forecast from the northeast to the southern plains. Plus, we're tracking Tropical Storm Lee, quickly gaining strength and taking aim at the Caribbean. What you need to know about its track this weekend. Plus, at risk, startling statistics show cancer cases are on the rise in people under the age of 50. The warning now from doctors and what you can do about your health. And unavailable. Finding a vacation rental in New York just got a lot harder. This morning, the city is cracking down on short-term rental companies like Airbnb. We'll break down the new restrictions now in place and what it could mean for the future of rentals across the country.
Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Stephen Romo in for Savannah Sellers this morning. We do begin this morning with some major developments in the ongoing criminal cases involving former President Trump, as well as the ongoing investigations into the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
We're going to start in Georgia, where today was supposed to be arraignment day for the defendants in the Fulton County investigation into election interference. But all 19 co-defendants in the case have now pleaded not guilty, waiving their right to appear in person at their arraignments. That includes former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and Trump attorney John Eastman. They're all facing racketeering charges, accused of attempting to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. Former President Trump has denied any wrongdoing and has also pleaded not guilty. He did that last week to the 13 charges against him. We're going to talk to NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos about all this in a moment, but let's start with MSNBC anchor Katie Phang in Atlanta this morning.
So what was supposed to be a day of arraignments, a parade of perhaps 19 defendants in the Fulton County RICO indictment case, has actually turned out to be a day of a different kind of hearing. So all 19 of those defendants have filed written waivers. What does that mean? It means that they don't actually have to appear for their arraignments today. They said, I am not guilty. I want to go to trial. But that's the big question that's going to be answered today, hopefully by Judge McAfee, the presiding judge, at 1 o'clock. Judge McAfee ordering the DA's office as well as counsel to show up to address the fact that there are pending motions to sever. And that means that a lot of these defendants, 6 of them to be exact at this time, do not want to be tried with either the other defendants in this case or actually in the case of Kenneth Chesebro by and between himself and specifically Sidney Powell. Now, why are Ken Chesebro and Sidney Powell's names so particular? Well, they are the only 2 so far who have filed a demand for speedy trial, basically saying, I am ready to go. I don't need any more time. I don't need to continue this case for any longer. But there's only one trial date that has been set so far. That's on October 23rd. That's literally right next month, and that is for Kenneth Chesebro. But we should hear from the judge after today. Timing. When are the rest of the defendants going to be set for trial? And even more importantly, will they be tried together? As you can imagine, a trial of 19 defendants would take a very long time. And DA Fani Willis saying, I'm ready to go. I'm able to do it. But Judge McAfee, he's the one who controls the pace and the timing of the things in his courtroom. So we'll see what he decides to do.
All right, Katie, thank you so much. Let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos for more on this. So, Danny, no surprise, we've got 19 not guilty pleas. What happens next? Is this the time where we could maybe see some of these defendants try and get plea deals?
And now chaos. And here's what I mean. We're going to have multiple trial dates. You have defendants who are already trying to sever, and there will be more that try to sever. This case is currently proceeding in not just 2 different courts, 2 separate sovereigns in both federal and state court. And there's a chance that part of the case may end up in federal court. All of it might end up in federal court. And imagine the complexity there of taking all 19 defendants and all their motions and pushing them up to federal court, where you now apply the federal rules of procedure as opposed to the state rules of procedure. This case is only beginning to enter the maelstrom of procedural messiness. It's going to be, frankly, I mean, really difficult to follow. Just take a look. We're only a month in, and you have defendants who are demanding a speedy trial in October, which is no way that's going to happen. Even if it starts, jury selection is going to take months. And the only reason I say that There's currently a RICO case in Fulton County of a much lesser known defendant, although somewhat high profile. That one's been in jury selection for 8 months. Now, even if that's an anomaly, yeah, that's right. Not trial, not testimony, jury selection. Wow. State courts are not federal courts. They simply do not run as fast and efficiently as federal courts. So I can't even picture what procedurally these cases are going to look like when it's all said and done.
And speaking of the federal level, we mentioned there are new developments on the January 6th front. Opening statements set to happen today for the case against former Trump advisor Peter Navarro. He's charged with contempt of Congress after ignoring subpoenas from the January 6th committee. He actually spoke to reporters on this. Let's hear what he had to say, and we'll talk to you on the other side.
Before the first juror is even seated, I've effectively been stripped of most of the possible defenses in this case. And that's exactly why I believe, and as I have said from the beginning, that this case is headed inexorably towards the Supreme Court.
Now, he went on to say this is about the separation of powers and about executive privilege. Does he have a point there? And could this make it to the Supreme Court, which he also said?
He may be right. I mean, this is a totally different situation. Remember, I told you the Fulton County case could take years. This case will take 1 day, maybe 2. Why? Because the burden of proof is so simple. You could do this in what's called a stipulated trial. The parties pretty much don't disagree on the facts. It's the legal issues that they disagree on. And the legal issues are the ones that will go up the appellate chain all the way to the Supreme Court in all likelihood, if the court decides that these issues of privilege and separation of powers are worthy of review. But on the facts alone, we've already seen these cases take about 15 minutes to put on. Did you get a subpoena? Yeah, I did. Did you comply with it? No, I didn't. Those are the facts. The legal issues, those are another thing.
Danny, very quickly, I want to ask you about something related to January 6th. We saw the longest sentence handed out tied to the attack on the Capitol. Enrique Tarrio, former leader of the Proud Boys, 22 years. What's your takeaway there?
The government had asked for 33 years, which is not uncommon for the government to ask high and maybe hope for the middle. It's a kind of negotiation, ultimately. The sentencing guidelines were really in the stratosphere. It sounds crazy, but 22 years in a way was not as bad as it could have been. But at the same time, if the court's mission is to avoid unwarranted sentencing disparities, given that the highest other sentences were 17 and 18 years, this one was 22. Is that a major disparity? Probably not. It's probably within the heartland of the other sentences. But then again, every defendant was different.
All right. Danny, thank you so much.
Well, the impeachment trial against suspended Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is underway. Paxton pleaded not guilty to 20 articles of impeachment, and that includes charges of corruption, abuse of the public trust, and lying on official records. Now, the Texas State Senate will decide whether or not to remove him from office. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett has the latest.
He's faced allegations of corruption for years, but always maintained his innocence. Now, the Attorney General of Texas is facing his most serious challenge yet. Embattled Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton fighting for his political survival at a rare impeachment trial.
Some of the evidence that you're going to hear is shocking.
With fiery opening statements rounding out day one.
What is being attempted here hasn't happened in our state in 100 years.
The conservative firebrand suspended after the Republican-controlled State House voted to impeach him back in May. The state Senate now deciding whether he should be permanently removed from office. Paxton's been accused of misusing his powers to help a local real estate developer's struggling business in exchange for free home renovations. House impeachment managers say that same developer was helping Paxton cover up an alleged affair.
Those allegations are offensive and false. The Attorney General pleads not guilty.
The Attorney General formally pleading not guilty to 16 articles of impeachment.
For God's sakes! What are we doing here?
It's a dramatic turn for Paxton, known for his lawsuits against the Biden and Obama administrations over health care and immigration. And while he's been dogged by investigations for years, voters in Texas reelected him twice.
At the end of the day, Mr. Paxton wasn't the man they thought he was.
His political future now in the hands of the state's 31 senators, 19 of them Republican, one his own wife, sitting at trial but barred from deliberating, and some familiar faces reportedly on the list of potential witnesses, including Paxton's 2022 challenger, George P. Bush, and political strategist Karl Rove. Paxton's trial in the Senate is expected to last roughly 2 weeks. He will not have to testify. Back to you.
All right, Laura, thank you.
The legal team for convicted murderer Alec Murdoch says it has uncovered evidence of jury tampering at his murder trial. That's according to the latest motion filed in court yesterday. They're now seeking a new trial for the once prominent South Carolina lawyer who was convicted this year of killing his wife and son. NBC News correspondent Kathy Park has the latest details.
A surprising motion filed by Alec Murdoch's defense attorneys accuses a county clerk of court, Becky Hill, of jury tampering. And now the legal team is demanding a new trial and a federal investigation.
The clerk of court had improper private communications with the jurors.
Hill did not respond to NBC News' request for comment. In court documents, Murdoch's attorneys claim that Hill had frequent private conversations with a jury foreperson, told jurors not to be fooled by Murdoch's testimony, asked jurors for their opinions about Murdoch's guilt or innocence, pressured them to reach a quick verdict, and invented a story about a Facebook post to remove a juror she believed leaned in favor of the defense. Murdoch's attorney saying Alec still maintains his innocence. What has he shared with you with this latest motion?
Well, I can't talk about attorney-client privilege information. I can tell you that when I shared with him the affidavits, he's a lawyer, he was astonished, he was shaking. He was in disbelief.
Months after the trial ended, Hill published a tell-all book, even writing about visiting the murder scene. Some of us, either from the courthouse, law enforcement, or jury at Moselle, had an epiphany and shared our thoughts with our eyes. I knew, and they know, that Alec was guilty. Murdoch's attorneys claim Hill betrayed her oath of office for money and fame.
She's trying to make money off of it. She's selling the book.
Earlier this year, the jury found Murdoch guilty of killing his wife Maggie and his son Paul, the judge handing down 2 life sentences. What's the likelihood of a new trial?
These motions are always difficult to win. The defendant has to show not only that they, in fact, just discovered this evidence, but it's evidence that would probably affect the outcome of a new trial.
Now that the motion has officially been filed, the Attorney General of South Carolina, Alan Wilson, now has less than 2 weeks to respond. He did release a statement saying that he's currently reviewing this motion. Back to you.
All right, Kathy Park, thank you.
To Alabama now, a panel of 3 federal judges have again rejected the state's congressional map. Yesterday, the federal court ruled the Republican-created map defied an explicit order from the Supreme Court to create 2 majority black districts. Now, the federal judges say they will draft new congressional lines after lawmakers refuse to create a second district where black voters are the majority, at least came close to comprising a majority. The Alabama Attorney General says the state plans to appeal that ruling.
Congress is back in session following a summer recess, and lawmakers have their work cut out for them in September, topping their agenda, trying to avoid a government shutdown before the end of this month. Another thing that's on their mind, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's health following his recent freeze incidents, which were captured on camera. We're joined now by NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin. Julie, good morning. So let's start with Senate Minority Leader McConnell. It was just last week he appeared to freeze on camera for the second time this summer. The Capitol attending physician wrote in a letter that there is no evidence McConnell suffered a stroke or had a seizure. What more are we learning?
Yeah, sort of to combat a lot of speculation coming not only from members of the press, but also the public who saw McConnell freeze up at these 2 very public events, both in front of reporters, and thought that maybe there was something more to his medical story after he suffered that fall in March that knocked him out of the Senate for more than a month as he suffered a concussion and some broken ribs. The attending Capitol physician writing that after a series of tests he conducted, which included MRI scans and other brain imaging, he said, quote, "No changes are recommended in treatment protocols as you continue recovery from your March 2023 fall." He also ruled out speculation that it was a seizure or a series of strokes that happened to McConnell. Again, just saying that this was something that is a common recovery symptom of an individual who suffered from a concussion. I got to tell you, though, yesterday was McConnell's first time back on the Hill in more than a month. He got a really warm welcome by most of his colleagues, a lot of them, a majority of them, I should say, standing in his corner, standing behind him, saying that the leader is as sharp as ever and that he is willing and ready to serve not only his term, but also his leadership position. We'll see what happens today during that first leadership press conference where we expect McConnell to address the press today in the Capitol.
All right, let's talk about some of the business at hand on Capitol Hill. Break down what are some of the top priorities for lawmakers and really some of the biggest obstacles to getting those things passed.
It's so interesting, Joe, because obviously the House is not back yet. They're back next week. Senate Republicans, though, are kind of putting this problem on House Speaker McCarthy. And that problem is, of course, to fund the government. They're saying they're not going to help House Republicans try and negotiate some lower spending levels than Speaker McCarthy and President Biden already agreed on when they passed the debt ceiling at the end of May. So what's on the table here now? Well, Congress has to fund the government by the end of this month. It's not clear they're going to get that done, right? The question now is, will they be able to pass a short-term funding bill? The date of which that ends is yet unknown. That's something House conservatives are currently trying to figure out with House Speaker McCarthy. But also on the table is the question of Ukraine aid, of disaster funding. Those are two things, remember, that President Biden and administration want to tie together, and they want to make sure is passed with any kind of increase to keep the government funded and to keep it open. Certainly conservatives, including in the Senate, including Senator Rick Scott, don't want those two things paired. They don't want to see Ukraine aid move along with disaster aid, which is usually a bipartisan issue. It affects both red and blue states, as unfortunately we've seen with the natural disasters in the last couple of weeks. Not only that, but also to reauthorize the FAA, the Farm Bill. So much on Congress's agenda. We'll see if they get it done in time.
We'll be talking about all those issues a lot over the next few weeks. Julie, while we have you, one more thing I quickly want to ask you about. That's Tennessee state lawmaker Gloria Johnson, who announced her run for Senate yesterday. Remember, she was one of the Tennessee Three, those three Democrats who were reprimanded earlier this year for leading protests against gun violence on the state House floor. What should we know about her run?
Exactly. This is major. This is somebody who is trying to take on the current incumbent, Senator Marsha Blackburn. She, of course, is a Republican. Gloria Johnson, in her campaign announcement yesterday, hitting Blackburn on her record for not supporting gun reforms, not supporting some of those reforms that Johnson and members of those Tennessee Three were pushing in Tennessee. Remember, they went there after that school shooting. It'll be an interesting campaign. Certainly Tennessee, though, a ruby red state.
All right, Julie, thank you so much.
All right, to weather now. An extreme heat that's expanding this morning across the south and northeast.
Meteorologist Angie Lastman's following it all and joins us with the forecast. Angie, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I hope you didn't put your shorts and T-shirts away because you're going to need them, especially considering our temperatures are going to be well into the triple digits for some spots, not just across the southern plains, but the northeast and mid-Atlantic, too. Right now, 81 million people are impacted by these heat alerts. Of course, the pumpkin spice lattes are out and kids are back to school. But look at these temperatures, very summer-like. 100 degrees today in Washington, D.C. We're going to threaten that potential record high today. Current record sat at 98 degrees. We'll likely break that. You can see Richmond heads to 100 degrees, Raleigh 101, New York ends up into the low 90s. Not quite a record there, but there's still a chance, and it's still uncomfortable to say the least. We've got the triple digits stretched across parts of the southern plains, too. This is a look at tomorrow's afternoon highs. Dallas 105, that would beat the record of 104 for tomorrow. Del Rio at 103. Houston heads to 102. We'll look across parts of the Gulf Coast to Mobile. 96 degrees is your expected high tomorrow. And even from Pennsylvania down to parts of Georgia, we are talking mid-90s with the potential to break some records. Notice the cooler air is focused across parts of the Midwest as a cold front works through the day today. That'll leave some unsettled with some rain, but we'll finally get back to more seasonable conditions along parts of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. But we've got to wait until really the end of the weekend in some spots. Look at Richmond, into the 90s through Friday, Saturday, mid-80s. Sunday, finally, we're starting to see those temperatures dial back. New York actually ends up back into the low 80s by Sunday, but we've got a long haul of these warm temperatures. You look a little farther to the west, guys, across the Midwest, and things are much different. Low 70s on Friday for Chicago, upper 70s Saturday and Sunday. Cleveland hangs out into those low 70s. Just one note, of course, it's warm, but that cold front that's going to bring the relief to folks in the Midwest, it is going to leave the potential for some heavy rain across parts of the northern Great Lakes today, and we could see some strong storms stretch down through parts of the south as well. But summer not going away anytime soon, apparently.
But some of those areas you could have a pumpkin spice latte and not feel terribly strange.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
All right. Thanks, Angie. Appreciate it. All right, much more ahead here on Morning News Now. Coming up, better than expected. Some good news from the Fed is easing fears about a recession. Later this hour, we'll show you the receipts, plus what it means for your bottom line.
Up first, after the break, controversy off the court at the U.S. Open. The famous phrase that got a fan ejected from the stands. We'll be right back. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back. The season of strikes is still in full swing, and it's looking like more than 100,000 United Auto Workers could soon be following suit. That's as contract negotiations with Detroit's three major automakers are at nearly a standstill. NBC News correspondent Tom Costello has more.
Up to 146,000 auto workers are now widely expected to walk off the job on Friday the 15th. Negotiations rocky at best.
We've given our economic proposals over a month ago, and they've had no response to it.
The big three automakers, Ford, GM, and Chrysler owner Stellantis, face tough demands.
The union's demands include a 46% pay hike, a 32-hour work week but paid for 40 hours, and the restoration of traditional pension benefits.
UAW workers already make $10 to $20 more per hour than non-union automakers, including Toyota and Tesla. The UAW admits the demand is audacious, but insists they deserve more after record profits. Ford says it's already offered a 9% pay hike. Stellantis calls negotiations constructive and collaborative. GM says it's working hard to resolve 1,000 union demands. In Ogden, Utah, Jake Talbot at Young Ford warns a strike could cut inventory further, sending car prices higher.
If you're going to buy a car in the next few months, it's probably not a bad idea to do it now.
And smaller supply chain businesses could also be affected by a strike.
We're going to be on our own now.
With 200 employees, Twin City Die Castings makes metal components for cars.
Somewhere between 30 days and 60, it's going to be very hard for us to maintain our workforce and continue to pay people.
After a summer of high-profile labor disputes and strikes, a UAW mega strike now looms large. Tom Costello, NBC News.
When we come back, why the family of a 14-year-old boy is blaming his death on a chip billed as the spiciest chip in the world.
And a common misconception with potentially life-changing consequences, the routine screening for women that may not be as comprehensive as you think. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back to international headlines now, starting with a new fallout from an unwanted celebratory kiss at the Women's World Cup.
NBC's Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome with that and other world headlines. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, guys. That's right. On Tuesday, the Spanish Soccer Federation announced that it fired the women's team coach literally 2 weeks after winning the World Cup title. Now, it follows the dismissal of Luis Rubiales, as you mentioned, the president of the Soccer Federation, who caused outrage after he kissed on the mouth one of the players in the winning team during the post-match medal ceremony, sparking a national debate about the country's deep-rooted patriarchy. Now, the team's coach initially supported Rubiales and even applauded him when he said he will not step down following the scandal. Now let's go to China, where authorities arrested 2 people for destroying a section of the Great Wall. A 38-year-old man and a 55-year-old woman were accused of smashing the wall to create, well, a shortcut to a nearby town where they were involved in some construction work. The area of the breach is not part of the restored section tourists are familiar with, but a broken down part in a remote area. Still, the whole wall is a Chinese cultural icon and a United Nations protected heritage site. And let's come back here in Italy and let's go to Venice, where the local administration announced it will start charging an admission fee to day trippers from next year to manage the flow of tourists. Now, people who will visit Venice only for the day will be charged a fee of €5, a little more than $5. Over-tourism has long been a problem in the beautiful but fragile lagoon city, and a plan to charge day trippers was floated years ago. Now, the scheme will go through a 30-day trial phase sometime next year in the spring or in the summer. Back to you guys.
All right. Innovative. All right. Claudio, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Now to a viral challenge that may have taken a deadly turn. The family of a 14-year-old student in Massachusetts says he died after eating a spicy chip that's making waves on social media. Here's NBC News correspondent Kristen Dahlgren.
2023 Pocky One Chip Challenge. Cheers.
It's a challenge going viral on social media.
Oh, I can't breathe.
The brand Pocky selling what they call the spiciest chip in the world, containing Carolina Reaper pepper and Naga Viper pepper, and challenging customers to eat it while seeing how long they can go without eating or drinking anything else. Now, one Massachusetts family believes the challenge may have contributed to the death of 14-year-old Harris Waloba. Harris's mother tells NBC Boston that he had a bad stomach ache after a classmate gave him the chip and was sent to the nurse's office before going home, where he briefly felt better. But hours later, Harris passed out and was taken to a nearby hospital where he was pronounced dead.
First thing was shock. When they said the name, I had to literally asked 100 times if this was him.
The results of Harris's autopsy are still pending. Pocky has not responded to our requests for comment. But in a statement to the Today Show last year, the company said in part, "We take safety very seriously and have worked hard to ensure our products are properly and clearly labeled with allergen and safety information."
One little chip.
The chip, which is sold in a coffin-shaped container, warns on the packaging that it's intended for adults and should be kept out of children's reach.
It's already started.
However, the challenge has blown up online, even celebrities joining in.
How do you swallow without any water?
I know. That's part of the challenge.
The ingredient that creates the heat is called capsaicin, which can cause vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain.
In general, when somebody eats capsaicin, it can cause a very painful, burning, irritating sensation in the mouth and the throat. There can be stomach irritation. People might have stomach aches and nausea and vomiting. When that happens, your body goes into more or less a fight or flight response.
On Pocky's website, the company urges anyone who has difficulty breathing, faints, or has extended nausea to seek medical help. Meanwhile, Harris's friends and family are left to mourn the young boy gone too soon. Now, those chips have been banned in certain school districts after reports that some kids were going to the hospital after trying them. In another district last year, they threatened to suspend anyone for simply bringing them into the school, let alone encouraging their peers to try them.
All right, Kristen Dahlgren, thank you so much.
Time now for our weekly medical checkup. This week, we're taking a look at a shocking new study showing a rise in new cancer cases for people under the age of 50.
Plus, we're learning more about the effects of cyberbullying on both the victims and the perpetrators. NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar joins us now to discuss some of these health headlines you may have missed. So we've got new research showing cancer cases in young people skyrocketing across the globe. We've been talking about this a lot lately. This one says up nearly 80% over the last 3 decades.
Yeah.
What are some of the factors we think that are driving this?
We were just talking about this, right? This is another international study that again is pointing out that these early onset cancers, and what that means is before the age of 50, are rising. What are the culprits? Well, we have the usual, and these are lifestyle factors. So diets that are high in red meat, salt, the tobacco use, alcohol, lack of physical activity. And by the way, all roads lead to overweight and obesity as being sort of the consequence of a lot of those behaviors and really being implicated here. The cancers that are having the fastest increase are windpipe and prostate, but the number one cancer that has the highest incidence in this age group, breast.
Wow. Well, speaking of another new survey to talk about, there's some confusion among women about a very common test, a Pap smear test. Many believing that it also covers ovarian cancer instead of just cervical cancer. What do we know about that?
This was shocking to me that 3 out of 4 women asked whether or not a Pap smear was a screen for ovarian cancer. It is not. Pap smears only are screening tests for cervical cancer. Sadly, you guys, there are no formal recommendations for screening for ovarian cancers, but my doctor's orders on this are really, really important. Because we don't have a standard of care in terms of screening for ovarian cancer, knowing your family history is so important because there are genetic tests that can be done if you are at higher risk. So if you have a family member who had breast, ovarian, other types of cancers, you probably could be a candidate for genetic testing. And if you do get genetic testing, you're already in the system to get more enhanced screening. That could include sonograms, et cetera, et cetera. But for the average woman, no. Get your pap smear. Screen for cervical, but it's not a screen for ovarian cancer.
Some good advice there. One more thing we want to talk about. Kids are heading back to school right now, and cyberbullying is always a concern. This is interesting. There's a study that found cyberbullying may increase the risk of experiencing eating disorder symptoms, and not just for the victims, right?
Not just for the victims, you guys. For the perpetrators, too. For the bulliers, also. This one hits home, too. I have a 15-year-old daughter. She's on TikTok. She's on social media. She's had friends who've struggled with eating disorders. And it is so apparent that how they see themselves, the fat shaming, all of that stuff really impacts girls, especially guys as well, but especially girls. So my doctor's orders here. Make sure as a parent that you are monitoring what your child is eating, how much time they're spending on their devices. That is such a huge thing to have a conversation with your kids on a regular basis. We say that all the time also, right? Take breaks from social media. TikTok and all that stuff. This is where the kids get their information, they get their news, and a lot of it is fantastic and a lot of it is not. But as a parent, it is your job to monitor that and be that person for your kids, sort of that, a little bit of police, but also giving them the guidance and wisdom that we can give them.
Important advice as always. All right, Dr. Azar, good to see you. Thanks so much. Coming up, the Federal Reserve easing fears about a recession, the better-than-expected numbers that are offering some hope about America's economy.
And delisted. New York City cracking down on vacation rentals. We'll talk about the new restrictions now in effect across the city and what it could mean for websites like Airbnb. This is Morning News Now.
We're back with another glimmer of good news about the future of our economy.
Yeah, Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller says recent positive economic data could help buy the Federal Reserve some time while they consider what to do next. Here's what he said in an interview yesterday on CNBC.
That was a hell of a good week of data we got last week. And the key thing out of it is it's going to allow us to proceed carefully, as Chair Powell said at Jackson Hole. There's nothing that is saying we need to do anything imminent anytime soon, so we can just sit there, wait for the data, see if things continue. The biggest thing is just inflation. We got two good reports in a row. Can wait and see what a third one looks like and see whether this low inflation is a trend or it was just an outlier or a fluke.
All right, joining us now is Caleb Silver. He's editor-in-chief at Investopedia. Thanks for being here, Caleb. So one of the data releases that Waller was talking about was actually the July jobs report, which was better than expected. 187,000 jobs were added last month. So help us understand why Waller thinks the Fed can afford to hold those higher rates even longer.
Yeah, that's the August jobs report, but we've had strong jobs growth all year. 3.1 million jobs added in the last 12 months. It's definitely slowing, but the fact that the labor market remains resilient and that wages have continued to go up, even though they're slowing, that's good news for consumer spending. That's good news for the overall economy. So you're hearing a lot of Fed presidents say, maybe we don't need another rate hike. Fed meets in 14 days, 6 hours, and 15 minutes. I'm not counting, but they do say that these high interest rates are going to be with us for a while, higher for longer.
Caleb always has that clock going like he's a billboard with when is the Fed going to meet. So we've talked about this. I mean, the Fed has been trying to thread a needle here, trying to bring down inflation but avoid a recession. Are they going to finish the sewing project here, or what are the chances we could still have a recession?
We could easily have one, but it'll be unlike one we've ever had before because we have relatively and historically low unemployment. Unemployment at 3.8%, that's considered full employment by the Fed. We still have good consumer spending going on, even though we're spending ourselves into record debt. But remember, we took in about $7 trillion in cash from the government over the last 3 years and during the pandemic. So that's still there. But we have the resumption of student loan payments now, right? We have potential strikes across the economy in different parts of the economy. We have a potential government shutdown. There's all kinds of things that could trip this up. We don't know we're in a recession until you're past it, unfortunately. And if we have one, though, it'll be very different and probably pretty mild.
Yeah, for a lot of consumers, I feel like, including me, we've heard the idea the recession could be happening. It could be coming. The government shutdown potential seems to always be there as well. It's easy to tune it out, but what should people be doing for themselves to protect their finances in case that recession does happen?
Yeah, you got to be the CEO of your own life here. That means knowing your balance sheet, conserving cash, making sure you have that emergency fund, securing your job if you have one. If you don't, try to get one now because things could get a little bit tighter, and we never know what's going to happen until it happens. We didn't know what was going to happen 3 years ago, so be prepared for that. And recessions are very personal. That's why we call it personal finance. So somebody might be feeling one in some part of the economy, but others are doing better. Just prepare yourself and be your own CEO.
Good advice.
Don't tune it out. Pay attention. Caleb Silver, thanks so much. Well, at the end of this month, federal funding for child care approved during the pandemic, well, that's expiring. And that means millions of kids and their working parents could face a shortage of care and a lack of affordable options. NBC News correspondent Rahima Ellis has those details.
It's story time in Miss Mary's class at Growing Seeds Child Development Center in Norwalk, Connecticut.
The title of the book says, Max Goes to School. Where does Max go?
This is Mila. She's 4 years old, and one thing's for sure, she's happy here.
I love my school, and I love my teacher because my teacher teaches me how to learn stuff. I learned flamingos and volcanoes.
See you later, alligator.
Her mom's a teacher here, too.
It's kind of hard to find quality childcare. So I feel like it's important to have like a school like this, you know, for all the children to have an opportunity to learn and basically grow.
But the schools worry it may need to downsize. That's because billions of dollars in pandemic-era federal funding for childcare is set to expire at the end of the month. Across the country, 3.2 million kids could lose their childcare, with 70,000 programs expected to close.
Definitely we won't be okay.
That's Stephanie Croswell, the director of Growing Seeds. She's running through scenarios for when the funding dries up.
It could be saying there will be a room or two that could close based on the funding that we don't receive. That means you could have 20 or 30 children that will not be attending preschool anymore.
And there's a ripple effect. With some kids not in school, working parents might need to change or leave their jobs. Researchers estimate they could lose $9 billion in earnings every year. Experts say it's exposed what are really long-standing problems.
The child care system has really never been adequately funded or resourced. What happened during the pandemic was that it really made clear that this system was fragmented and really insufficient.
On average, child care can cost anywhere from about $5,000 to more than $15,000, according to government data. And yet, child care workers have historically made less than the national average. As of May 2022, they only made about $14 an hour. It's leading some child care workers to leave the industry.
I feel our child care life is on the line right now. Staffing not really wanting to stay or go look for something else because they can get higher pay and more benefits.
And those who stay say they need more support.
Sometimes we go out and purchase things for our classroom out of our own pockets. It shouldn't have to be like that. We should be getting, you know, the funding to provide the supplies for new toys, new books, new, you know, furniture, stuff like that.
For kids like Mila who just want to learn.
Very good.
Our thanks to Rahima Ellis for that reporting. Researchers, by the way, estimate more than 230,000 child care jobs could be cut. Congress is currently working to resolve this issue, but right now there's no real solution in sight.
Turning to some financial headlines now, auto safety regulators are pushing for a massive recall.
Yes, CBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other news. Good morning, Silvana.
Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Joe. Yeah, so safety regulators say 52 million airbag inflators made by ARC Automotive and Delphi Automotive need to be recalled because they could rupture and send dangerous metal fragments flying. The government demanded the recall back in May, but ARC rejected it. The inflators have been used in vehicles from 2000 through early 2018, produced by a dozen automakers, including Toyota, GM, Ford, Tesla, and Volkswagen. Regulators are aware of 7 confirmed incidents, including 7 injuries and 1 death. Amazon's in-garage delivery service is going to cost a little bit more. The company will now charge $1.99 if customers want to get deliveries outside of their designated weekly Amazon day. The new policy starts October 4th. Prime members have been able to get drivers to drop packages inside garages for free, regardless of day, if they enable the service and use a smart home garage door opener. Amazon recently raised the minimum order amounts for free Amazon Fresh grocery deliveries and free shipping for non-Prime members. And Disney's newest cruise ship is bringing the magic of its theme parks to the high seas. Disney Treasure will debut in December of next year with restaurants, attractions, and accommodations inspired by rides at Disney World and Disneyland. And they include the Nautilus submarine from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which was retired years ago at Disney World. Disney Treasure will sail 7-night cruises to the Caribbean starting in December of 2024. Reservations open in October. Now, I'm not a fan of cruises, but I will say that ride, the 20,000 Leagues Under, that was my favorite ride at Disney.
Right. Next thing, they're going to put like Space Mountain on a cruise ship or something.
Tower of Terror. I want that one.
There you go. Thanks, Yvonne. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Well, New York City is cracking down on short-term rentals that are affiliated with companies like Airbnb.
The new law places major restrictions on hosts and guests alike, but some worry about the impact these changes could have on tourism. Allison Poley is a travel reporter for the Wall Street Journal and joins us now. So explain the new rules to us and, why is this being rolled out in New York City?
So the new rules require all hosts to register with the city, but you can only register if you meet certain requirements. So that means no renting out your apartment or home for less than 30 days. And you have to live there and be present if you are renting it out for that amount of time. This is being rolled out because New York City is struggling with an affordable housing crisis. And for many years, the hotel lobby has advocated against these types of changes from short-term rentals and their business growing.
And what about that impact on tourism? Is this expected to have implications there?
New York City is a huge market for Airbnb, and there were about 40,000 active rentals. Now, as of late August, the city had only registered a few more than 200 short-term rentals in the city. So the number has drastically decreased. It means tourists will probably have to stay in hotels or find other accommodations.
What are the larger implications here? First, for New York City, what type of impact could we see? And then is this something that other cities are looking at or considering as well?
So in New York City, if you are someone staying in an Airbnb, you will not be fined. So guests should know that if they do have a reservation this fall and it's able to be kept, they will not face a fine like the host might for operating the Airbnb. Other cities are looking at New York to see what is going on and how they were able to achieve these regulations. But the New York laws are very tough, so it's not likely other cities will go quite as far in their own regulations.
Do we have an idea if Airbnb tend to be a more affordable option than some of the hotels in New York, or can it be about the same amount of money?
It's kind of apples and oranges because you're getting a whole place usually as opposed to a hotel room. But in general, Airbnbs have been more affordable than hotel rooms in recent years.
Interesting stuff.
Allison Poley, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, a special honor for an American hero.
When we come back, hear from a Vietnam War pilot who saved 4 soldiers while under enemy fire. You're watching Morning News Now.
Welcome back. After 4 years of marriage, Joe Jonas has filed for divorce from Game of Thrones star Sophie Turner. The couple first met back in 2016 through Instagram and then tied the knot after 3 years of dating. Together, they have 2 daughters, 3-year-old Willa and another daughter born in July of last year. Now, according to the divorce petition, Jonas says, quote, "The marriage between the parties is irretrievably broken."
All right. We wish them both the best. Thanks, Stephen. President Biden has awarded the Medal of Honor to a Vietnam War helicopter pilot. Captain Larry Taylor, now 81 years old, saved 4 soldiers by doing something the Army says had never been accomplished or even attempted. NBC News Pentagon correspondent Courtney Cubie got to sit down with Captain Taylor and hear his story.
It was the peak of the Vietnam War when First Lieutenant Larry Taylor got a call, soldiers in trouble. Minutes later, he was flying his Cobra attack helicopter in the dark of night.
Sometimes you fly with in your underdrawers with shower soap on, but by God, you got it off the ground in 2 minutes.
Nearly 100 North Vietnamese troops were closing in on 4 American soldiers. Dave Hill was one of them.
Totally surrounded. Is an area about the size of a football field.
And nearly out of ammo. Taylor and his wingman fired everything they had, but the Americans were still pinned down.
Over the radio, Taylor's commander ordered him back to base to resupply. Mike Holden saw it unfolding.
He told him, I'm the senior officer in this, you're not. Get off my frequency. I'm going in and these 4 men are going to die. Turned it off and went down.
What was going through your mind?
Before I started the approach in, I thought this is a good idea. And when I got about halfway through it, I thought, what the hell am I doing?
He landed under heavy enemy fire. With no extra seats, the 4 soldiers clung to the outside of the chopper.
So there's no door. This is a Cobra. Get the hell on here. So 2 of them sat on the skid and grabbed the strut. 2 of them straddled the rocket pods backwards and flew.
Taylor got them all out safely. Did you get in trouble for defying the order?
What are they going to do, send me to Vietnam?
It was 30 years before Taylor saw any of those 4 American soldiers again at a reunion.
That was the first time we could personally thank him.
Hill started a years-long effort to get Taylor the nation's highest military award. At the White House, that mission was completed.
We never lost a man, and we never left anybody behind for any reason. And yeah, I think I'm proud of that. I did my job.
Courtney Cubie, NBC News, Washington.
He most certainly did his job. Always incredible to hear these stories decades later.
Yeah, I love the passion he still has about it, too.
All right, that's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But your news continues right now. Good morning. Welcome to Wednesday. I'm Stephen Romo in for Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, sweating it out. The late summer heat wave is expanding this morning. Now more than 80 million people are under heat alerts in states from the south up to the northeast. And it comes right as students across the country are heading back to school. Focus now is on reading, writing, and air conditioning. We'll have more on how those uncomfortable conditions are raising health concerns. Also this morning, COVID on the rise. Health experts say they're seeing an uptick in hospitalizations, and that's leading some Americans to break out their masks again as we head into colder season. We're going to tell you why doctors say we're seeing more cases and what you need to know to stay safe. Plus, the plot thickens. There are new developments in Alec Murdoch's murder conviction. Now Murdoch is seeking a new trial 6 months after he was found guilty in the deadly shootings of his wife and youngest son. His lawyers say they've uncovered evidence of jury tampering.
And jurors receive private communications outside the confines of a public courtroom. The Sixth Amendment is violated, and numerous other constitutional rights are violated.
We've got a closer look at their claims and what this could mean for Murdoch's future just ahead. And fashion icon Princess Diana was admired around the world for her timeless looks. 26 years after her death, her influence on fashion has become part of her lasting legacy. Now Sotheby's is auctioning off one of her iconic pieces. We're taking a look back at Diana's most memorable fashion moments. That'd be quite the item to win in an auction, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. No kidding. So many of them, too.
We'll have more on that in just a little bit. Let's start this hour with the heat wave that is baking parts of the country and continuing to break records.
Yeah, right now, millions of Americans are under heat alerts, and that comes as many students are returning to school. Some of them in areas without air conditioning. That's forcing some districts to cut the days short to keep students safe. NBC News correspondent Kristen Dahlgren is in Concord, New Hampshire, with the latest. Kristen, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Stephen and Joe. Yeah, New Hampshire is usually a haven in September as the temperatures begin to dip, but definitely not this year. Here in Concord, they're actually making changes to recess. They've canceled and postponed some of the after-school activities. Administrators worry that these temperatures are going to be downright dangerous.
This morning, millions of Americans are feeling the heat. Students sweating it out as they head back to school in many places this week.
Basically, my arms would stick to my desk and I would have to rip them up because it was so hot and sweaty.
With temps soaring toward records, a lack of AC is making some schools uncomfortably hot.
We do have a few fans. That's all.
Leaving some districts to cut the day short out of a concern for student safety. From Michigan.
It just really doesn't make any sense to me why they don't have air conditioner or portable air conditioners.
To New Jersey.
I'd rather it be this weather when I'm at the beach or
anywhere but school. When you step inside like any classroom, it's like so hot, so humid.
The lack of adequate air conditioning leaving parents worried about possible dehydration and cutting learning short.
If they have to sit in class all day, they shouldn't be hot, you know. It's taken away from their education and the way that they're going to function all day.
In Baltimore, the soaring temperatures have triggered a code red extreme heat alert, meaning some of the city's pools will stay open longer.
It's just like incredibly hot out here.
And in Texas, as the mercury soars to the triple digits, the state's main electric grid operator has issued a weather watch through Friday as demand soars to the highest level ever seen in September.
We were just drowning in our sweat because it was so hot.
And it's not just when kids get to school. Think about it. A lot of areas, the school buses don't have air conditioning either, so they can be really hot and those rides can be long. So if you're headed out this morning, don't forget that water bottle. Remind kids to stay hydrated, guys.
So important. All right, Kristen, thank you so much.
So let's take a closer look at the sky-high temps impacting millions around the country with your Morning News Now weather forecast.
Meteorologist Angie Lastman joins us again. Good morning, Angie.
Good morning, guys. And actually, we had June, July, August, the hottest on record across the globe since records started being kept. And we're going to continue on with that kind of same trend for parts of the United States here as we get through the next couple of days. Here's the areas that we're expecting records for the beginning of September. Notice it's not just today, it's also tomorrow. You can see places like Hartford, New York, Washington, D.C. all could be close to record breaking through today and even into your Thursday. Washington, D.C. heads to 100 degrees today. Tomorrow, 95. You'll notice places like Roanoke, high 90s today, into the low 90s tomorrow. So there will be some slight improvement as we wait for a cold front to work its way closer to us. But in the meantime, parts of the southern plains also dealing with potential records. Places like Albuquerque, San Angelo, Dallas, Houston, dozens of potential record afternoon highs could be broken through the day today and even into tomorrow. You see numerous triple digits for places across Texas for the highs today and tomorrow. Dallas at 104 this afternoon, 105 tomorrow. Houston 101 and Thursday ending up at 102. There's the cold front that I mentioned. It's going to bring in a whole lot of cooler air. We're talking up to 20-degree temperature differences from one day to the next in this region. So we'll start to see conditions dropping back into those mid-70s for Detroit as we get into tomorrow. Buffalo's into the low 80s. Of course, not chilly conditions by any mean, but comparatively to just a little farther to the east, those temperatures are going to be on the cool side. We've got mid-80s expected in New York by the time Friday rolls around, and Washington, D.C. will finally get back to those low 90s. And of course, we are in the beginning of September, so that means hurricane season is at its peak. Tropical Storm Lee is one area that we are closely watching. We do have it still maintaining tropical storm strength, but this system likely to rapidly intensify here over the short term, probably becoming a Category 1 hurricane by later today, maybe early tomorrow. Either way, a Category 4 down the line, guys. We'll watch for impacts here for parts of the Caribbean, but just to note, the models do indicate that it's going to take a northerly turn right now. I know this is on everybody's mind, so down the line, we'll watch for potential impacts for the East Coast, but that's what the models look like right now.
Let's hope it keeps making that turn.
Exactly.
All right, Angie, thanks so much. This morning, the search for an escaped inmate in Pennsylvania has expanded, and school has been canceled for a second day for students in the area while police hunt for the convicted murderer. NBC News correspondent George Solis joins us with the very latest. George, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. You're right. The search area only continues expanding, leading to more businesses and school closures. Now, residents in this community just 30 miles outside Philadelphia, they're growing more anxious by the day. They say they want this killer caught so they can go back to their everyday lives. Escaped murderer Daniello Cavalcante has now been on the run in Chester County, Pennsylvania for 7 days.
It is important we keep pressure on him as we continue this hunt.
The manhunt for the convicted killer intensifying after yet another sighting of him, this time on a trail camera at a popular botanical garden.
The photos confirm that Cavalcante has not changed his appearance, but also that he has obtained a backpack, a duffel sling-type pack, and a hooded sweatshirt.
According to police, there have now been 5 credible sightings of Cavalcante within their initial search area. Following the latest sighting, they quickly expanded the perimeter in an effort to contain the fugitive. While using a recording of his mother's voice around the search radius, telling him to turn himself in. Cavalcante escaped from Chester County Prison last Thursday, just a week after being handed a life sentence for brutally killing his ex-girlfriend.
Please secure homes, outbuildings, and vehicles. Cavalcante has clearly already obtained some clothing and unknown other supplies, and we want to minimize any opportunity to obtain anything more.
local residents staying vigilant this morning as life, including the start of the school year, is now on pause.
We're watching to see if school will be canceled. Practices have been canceled. It would be good if they caught this escaped prisoner sooner rather than later. We have life to get back to.
As emergency services send phone calls like this.
If you see him, do not approach and call 911 immediately. He is convicted of homicide and presumed extremely dangerous.
Questions growing about how Cavalcante escaped in the first place, especially following the escape of another inmate from the same prison earlier this year. But for now, officials say they are channeling all efforts on Cavalcante.
Our main focus right now is to capture this fugitive.
There's still a major police presence here with more than 200 law enforcement officers from state, local, and federal agencies. The FBI and U.S. Customs and Border Patrol also on the ground. It really tells you the scope of this thing and just how badly they want this killer caught. Joe?
All right, George, thank you so much.
Well, the former leader of the far-right Proud Boys group is looking at a serious prison sentence for his role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Enrique Tarrio was sentenced yesterday to 22 years in federal prison. That's the longest sentence so far of any of the January 6th cases. Tario was convicted earlier this year of seditious conspiracy. He was not actually at the Capitol on January 6th. He was arrested beforehand because of his actions at a previous pro-Trump event in Washington. But U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland says Tario still played a, quote, central role in leading to the breach of the Capitol that day.
Now to Capitol Hill, where lawmakers are back at work after a summer recess. That includes Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Now, he's still facing questions about his health after two apparent freezing episodes this summer. The Capitol's attending physician wrote a letter which says the 81-year-old senator did not suffer a stroke or a seizure. NBC News senior Capitol Hill correspondent Garrett Haake joins us from Washington with the latest. Garrett, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Good morning. Yeah, look, McConnell appears eager to move on from this story, only briefly mentioning last week's incident in his first speech back on the floor. In that letter yesterday, the Capitol's official physician did, as you say, rule out a seizure disorder or a stroke, but didn't identify any underlying cause for these incidents. Still, Republican senators appear unified behind McConnell, with many telling us they're confident he's still up to the job of party leader.
This morning, Republican leader Mitch McConnell back in the U.S. Senate, closely watched as he returned to the Senate floor Tuesday. McConnell choosing to focus on policy, making only a passing mention of growing concerns over his health.
Now, one particular moment of my time back home has received its fair share of attention in the press over the past week. But I assure you, August was a busy and productive month for me and my staff.
The comments come after a second health scare last week left him momentarily frozen at a Kentucky news conference.
Oh, that's
Did you hear the question, Senator?
The 81-year-old lawmaker unresponsive for more than 30 seconds, eventually led away by staff.
I'm sorry, you all, we're going to need a minute.
The incident following a similar freezing episode in July on Capitol Hill.
It's been good bipartisan cooperation and a string of
McConnell suffered a concussion and a broken rib in a fall in March. And on Tuesday, his office released a letter from the Capitol's attending physician noting his continuing recovery and stating that an MRI, consultations with neurologists, and other tests all revealed no evidence of a seizure disorder, stroke, or movement disorder like Parkinson's. The physician and McConnell's staff suggesting the freezing episodes were the result of lightheadedness and possibly dehydration. This as lawmakers in both parties largely rallied around McConnell and his ability to continue as the GOP's leader in the Senate.
It appears to me that these are still pretty isolated incidents.
Senator, what's your reaction to this latest health scare from Mitch McConnell, and are you confident he can still do the job?
The reality is that we may expect that Mitch McConnell will check out for 20 seconds a day, but the other 86,380 seconds in the day, he does a pretty darn good job.
Now, McConnell avoided or ignored questions from reporters on his health all day yesterday, but he is expected to address the issue behind closed doors with Republican senators today. And at his regular weekly news conference afterwards, Joe, I suspect he will face a lot of questions on this topic once he finally stands in front of reporters for real.
I feel like Senator Romney was ready for your question, Garrett.
I feel like he might have been.
Yeah. All right, Garrett Haake, thanks so much.
Well, First Lady Jill Biden is continuing to recover from COVID-19 as health officials warn the virus is making a comeback. The number of cases and hospitalizations are on the rise across the country as part of a late summer wave. Health officials say it could get worse from here as the weather gets colder. And this is all happening as a new booster could be hitting the market by the end of the month. NBC News correspondent Tom Costello joins us now with the latest on the rise of COVID cases. Tom, good morning. It's deja vu all over again.
Yeah, boy, that's right. And listen, it's normal. It's human nature that our eyes start to glaze over when we talk about COVID. We do that at our own peril, right? We are seeing a slight uptick in hospitalizations and deaths. The reality is we're in a much different place than we were last year, certainly 2 years ago. The numbers were a lot higher then. Still, health experts are saying that this is not a reason to dismiss this virus. It continues to mutate. It continues to pose a serious health risk. From the White House to concert and sports arenas, even daytime TV, a reminder that COVID-19 has not gone away. As health experts say, a late summer wave of cases is now leading to an uptick in hospitalizations, though still well below pandemic peaks.
We haven't reached a predictable pattern with the virus. That's why we have to care. And we're seeing incredible mutations and changes in the virus.
Among those now on their second round with the virus, First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, who's experiencing mild symptoms, we're told, and staying in Delaware.
President Biden tested negative last night for COVID-19 and tested negative again today. He's not experiencing any symptoms.
That diagnosis led President Biden to break out a face mask during a Medal of Honor ceremony Tuesday before later removing it. As some Americans are choosing once again, it's time to cover up in public. While on TV,
as you can see, Whoopi is not here. She has COVID.
The View's 27th season kicked off without moderator and co-host Whoopi Goldberg. The U.S. Open is underway, missing the often colorful commentary of tennis legend John McEnroe. Even heavy metal rockers Metallica forced to reschedule a show in Arizona. All disruptions from a virus that most experts don't think will leave us anytime soon, if ever. Does this just underscore how persistent COVID is?
It underscores that this is a novel virus that's trying to survive.
The good news, the FDA says existing at-home tests can detect new variants. And the CDC could vote as early as next week to approve new boosters, which experts say everyone should consider, even if you're young and healthy.
The trick is to just stay ahead of it and to keep rates low enough so that we can enjoy our lives without being bothered by it all the time.
Yeah, did you hear what Dr. Patel said? It's so important. This virus is mutating. It wants to stay active. It wants to stay alive. Listen, we're also seeing doctors trying to understand long COVID. Still, experts say sometimes people with long-term COVID are not getting diagnosed properly. They're still trying to understand what guidance to offer those folks. Stephen, I've got a dear friend from Denver. He's now had long COVID for 3.5 years. It is utterly debilitating. Back to you.
Wow, as the threat continues. Tom Costello, thanks so much.
You bet.
Well, on this, let's bring in Dr. Susanna Hill. She's a surgeon and assistant professor at the Columbia University Medical Center. Dr. Hill, it's good to have you with us. So how concerned should we be about this rise in cases and hospitalizations? And is this the new reality now looking forward?
Yeah, right. So this isn't unexpected. We knew that this virus was not going away. And we don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. And we expected there to be different variants or strains. We'll have probably several new strains this season that we're tracking very closely. Not a surprise, but so far, I think we are in a much better place than we were this time last year or 2 years ago because we've got a lot of immunity. People have had COVID, we have vaccines, and we have good treatments.
Well, it's not just COVID that we're talking about, of course. It's flu, RSV as well. We get in tighter quarters when it gets to colder months. So it's something else to be concerned about. But how well are these boosters and vaccines? How well are they keeping up with the variants and all these viruses?
We think the current booster that's going to be coming out is going to provide good coverage for the strains that we're looking at right now. This new variant that we're looking at, the Corolla variant that's been causing some recent interest, tests were done in 2 different labs in the U.S. The results look like we're likely to have immunity or protection from the vaccine for that strain. It certainly will provide good protection from the strains that it was designed to protect. So I think the vaccine will be a a really good tool for us this season.
We talk often about masks, which are not required in most indoor spaces. I know I was traveling the last few days. We wore our masks indoors. We tried to dine outdoors. The one time I did dine indoors, someone sitting a couple tables away coughed the entire time and wanted to rip my hair out. What's the best advice right now about should we be masking and how should we follow some of these lessons we've learned over the last few years?
Yep. I think there are two different factors that people can consider. One is, what is your personal risk? How concerned do you need to be? Are you over 65? Do you have health conditions that put you at higher risk? That's going to make your consideration for masking a bit higher. The other thing that people should do is just keep track of what's going on in your area. What are your case numbers looking like? And that's from your local health department. The CDC has a tracker where you can look and see in your county what the case numbers are like. It's a little like checking the weather. When case numbers are up, then it's probably worth it to be a little more careful and consider masking, being protective. Of course, the number one thing is really like hand washing. If you have symptoms, if you're sick, stay home. But just keep an eye on what's going on around you.
We should all be experts by now at all those things.
No kidding, we should. If you are coughing up at a restaurant, maybe you shouldn't be at the restaurant.
Exactly.
Dr. Hills, thank you so much. Good to have you here with us.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, a show of support. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken makes a surprise visit to Kyiv this morning as Ukraine's counteroffensive against Russia ramps up. We'll have details on that two-day visit and a potential new aid package he's expected to announce.
Plus, we're looking back at Princess Diana's lasting influence on fashion and some of her most iconic looks. Next. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has made an unannounced visit to Ukraine. America's top diplomat arrived in Kyiv overnight. Earlier this morning, Blinken met with Ukrainian officials ahead of talks with President Zelensky later today. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel joins us now from Kyiv. Richard, good to have you with us. So why has Secretary Blinken made this surprise trip? What's on the agenda?
So a lot is on the agenda. His schedule is extremely busy, meeting with the foreign minister. He's expected to meet with President Zelensky later. He's met with the first lady in this country. He's met the prime minister. He's going to the embassy to meet staff. A very, very busy schedule. Laid a wreath at a cemetery to honor the victims of this war, the Ukrainian casualties. And according to what he said, that he's here to express support on behalf of the U.S. government, on behalf of the Biden administration, for Ukraine, for its war efforts. He's going to announce later today an additional $1 billion plus in American support for Ukraine, both military support and economic support. That's in addition to the about $66 billion that the United States has committed so far. And according to State Department officials, briefing sort of on the giving broader context, they say that this visit, which is the first visit by a senior U.S. official since the counteroffensive began about 3 months ago, is to show that the U.S. is still committed to bring attention of this conflict to the American people, because many in the United States haven't really been focusing on the war, particularly over the summer months. And that official said that this is almost like a back-to-school moment where the two governments, the two administrations, the Ukrainian and the Biden administration, want to get together, want to make sure they're on the same page going into the fall when the UN General Assembly meeting is just a couple of weeks away. U.S. Congress is getting back into session, so a restart to the new year.
Certainly a relatable way to frame that. So, Richard, Secretary Blinken's arrival comes just after Russia carried out airstrikes on the Kyiv and Odessa regions. What more can you tell us about that?
So the Secretary of State arrived overnight. This was an unannounced visit, but people who were involved in the planning obviously knew about it, but the arrival time was under embargo, and all the specifics about his travels in this area are embargoed until he's already at that location, or generally left the location that he's going to. And he arrived overnight by train from Poland, and about 3 hours before he arrived here in Kyiv, there was another Russian missile strike on this city, and Ukrainian air defenses shot down the missiles. None of them reached their intended target, and there were no casualties, but there was some minor damage on the ground. Attacks on Kyiv have not been as frequent, so it's possible that this was a message aimed to coincide with his visit. Although that's just a possibility. But attacks are only now about once a week compared to every day a couple of months ago.
All right, Richard Engel reporting from Kyiv. Richard, thank you so much. There's a lot of national pride on the line for this next one. U.S. News and World Report has just released its annual list of best countries.
Yeah, and this is a comprehensive and thorough look at 87 different countries across 73 attributes. Morgan Fletchner is executive editor for news and events at U.S. News and World Report and joins us now for more. Morgan, good morning. Thanks for being here. So before we get to the list, what were some of the criteria that you considered when you came up with it?
So, as you said, Best Countries evaluates 87 nations across 73 different metrics. We use a survey of more than 17,000 global respondents, and we look at everything from education, power, military might, adventure, where you might like to go on vacation, and healthcare, all the way to economy. And we're measuring the perception of each country around the world.
All right, so without further ado, we want to give people the list. We have the top 10 countries here. I understand Switzerland is once again on top, as it has been the last few years. The U.S. actually slid down to the 5th spot this year. So first of all, what makes Switzerland number 1, and what is behind America's slide?
Sure. So Switzerland is really consistent, and that's why it has been at the top for 6 of the 8 years that we've done Best Countries. So economic stability and education really fuel Switzerland's reign in the Best Countries rankings. And then on top of that, people wouldn't mind living there. It's got a good quality of life. This is the 6th time the nation has claimed the top spot. In the U.S., as you said, fell 1 spot. By sub-ranking, its largest decline between last year and this year was in the Open for Business ranking, which is really geared towards businesses and whether businesses would like to come to the United States to headquarter their businesses. Over the last 5 years, the U.S.'s overall ranking has risen from a low of number 8, which it was in both 2018 and 2019. So overall, the U.S. is pretty consistent, but this year did fall 1 slot from last year.
All right, you also mentioned some of the sub-lists, one of them the best country for adventure. Pretty interested about that one. Tell us the countries that made the cut here.
Sure. So for adventure, people really like adventure in their lives. They want to break away from normal rhythms of daily life and reduce their stress. So they're really looking for places that are fun and have a pleasant climate that's friendly. So our top 5 here are Brazil, Italy, Greece, Spain, and Thailand, all places that I think I would like to go on vacation.
Yeah, I'll take it. Sign me up.
You also have lists that highlight potential causes or quality of life issues, such as best countries for green living and best countries for racial equality. Talk to us about what's leading people to flock to some of these countries.
So for green living, we asked respondents about whether the country cares about the environment or is health conscious and is innovative. So we have Sweden at the top of the list there, Japan, Norway, Switzerland, and Denmark. The United States comes in all the way down at number 20 for green living. But we're asking people where they think the people care about the environment, essentially, and getting their perceptions in that way.
All right, Morgan Fletchner from U.S. News and World Report. Thank you so much for breaking that down for us. All right, to more international headlines now. A severe storm has devastated parts of southern Brazil.
NBC's Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome with that and other world headlines. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Authorities in Brazil say that at least 21 people have died in the south of the country after a storm caused widespread flooding in several cities. Now, the governor of the Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil's southernmost state, said 60 cities have been battered by what was classified as an extratropical cyclone. Dramatic TV footage showed people on top of their houses pleading for help as streets turned into rivers. At least 1,600 people have been rendered homeless. Let's go to Hong Kong now, where the city's top court has ordered the government to legally recognize the rights of same-sex couples. The decision follows years of legal battles by the LGBTQ activists to have their rights recognized, but while it's a step ahead, is stopped short of their demands for full marriage equality. Homosexuality in Hong Kong has been decriminalized since 1991, but activists were hoping that the court will declare the government's denial of same-sex marriage unconstitutional. And let's end this short tour of the world in Australia, where today several shark attacks partially sunken an inflatable catamaran on the country's northeast coast. The 3 men on board, 2 Russians and 1 French national, sent out a distress call and were rescued by another vessel. The Australian Maritime Safety Authority said that both hulls of the vessel have been damaged by the shark attacks. Night vision photos posted on the authority's website show the rear of the vessel submerged in the water. Scary stuff. Back to you guys.
Scary indeed. All right, Claudio, thank you.
Coming up, legal twist.
The lawyers for convicted murderer Alec Murdoch are asking for a new trial. They're alleging that they uncovered evidence of jury tampering. A closer look at those claims and what it could mean for a future in this case. That's next.
We're back with a major development in the Alec Murdoch murder trial.
His legal team is now alleging that County Clerk of Court Rebecca Hill tampered with at least 2 jury members. The defense is demanding a federal investigation into those alleged actions and a whole new trial. NBC News correspondent Kathy Park is in Columbia, South Carolina now with the latest on the allegations in this case. Kathy, good morning.
Hey guys, good morning to you both. Yeah, this was perhaps one of the most high-profile murder trials in recent years. It ultimately ended with a conviction, and now Murdoch is serving 2 consecutive life sentences for the brutal murders of his wife and son. And now, according to his attorneys, their client is in disbelief over the new evidence.
This morning, an explosive new legal twist in the case of convicted killer Alec Murdoch. His attorneys are demanding a new trial, accusing the Colleton County Clerk of Court of jury tampering.
We never considered the likelihood, as reported to us by the jurors, that the Clerk of Court would go in to the sanctity of the jury room before he testified and tell the jurors, don't be fooled by his testimony.
In sworn affidavits from 2 jurors, Murdoch's attorneys detail multiple instances of what they say was improper conduct by Clerk of Court Rebecca Hill. According to Murdoch's legal team, Hill allegedly told jurors, y'all are going to hear something that will throw you all off. Don't let this distract you or mislead you. Hill, seen outside the courthouse after the verdict, acknowledged by prosecutors for her work.
I want to thank the Colleton County Clerk of Court, Becky Hill, and her entire team.
The defense motion filed Tuesday also alleges Hill asked jurors for their opinions about Murdoch's guilt or innocence, pressured them to reach a quick verdict, and invented a story about a Facebook post to remove a juror she believed would have found Murdoch not guilty.
Jury tampering by a clerk of the court would be something very rare and very dramatic.
Shortly after the trial, 3 of the jurors appearing on Today, telling Savannah and Craig they didn't believe Murdoch's emotional testimony was genuine.
He knows, like what she said, when to turn it on and off. So I think that we were kind of able to read right through that.
Months after the trial ended, Hill co-authored a tell-all book about her experience on such a major case called Behind the Doors of Justice, The Murdoch Murders. NBC News has reached out to Hill for comment about the new allegations and have not heard back. But she told Court TV they were untrue.
Guilty verdict.
In March, Murdoch was found guilty of murdering his wife Maggie and his son Paul in 2021 and received 2 consecutive life sentences. According to his lawyers, he still maintains his innocence.
Now, we have reached out to those 3 jurors who appeared on Today back in March. 2 declined to comment. We're still waiting to hear back from that 3rd juror. We should also point out that the Attorney General of South Carolina, he has now received the defense's motion and said he will respond when the time is appropriate. Guys, back to you.
It'll be interesting to hear from more jurors. All right, Kathy, thank you.
All right, you saw NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos in that story, but we want more, Danny. So we joined us with more. First of all, the lawyers for Murdoch appeared on Today this morning to talk more about this. Let's listen to a little bit of what they had to say.
The legal question is not whether the outcome of the trial would have been different. The question is whether the information provided to the jury outside the confines of the courtroom is prejudicial.
We've got to show she acted improperly
if improper conduct occurred, there is a presumption that we get a new trial. I mean, it is the United States Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals of South Carolina have all ruled on this issue. I've got to say, we couldn't find a single case where the clerk of court did something like this.
So what do you make of their argument? Is this as historic as they seem to say it is?
I'm so glad you said that, because I couldn't find that case either. I found one where the bailiff said something improper and where some of the other court staff may have mentioned something to the jury, but nothing like this. And even some of those cases were like 1800s, where the guy says, "Ye olde defendant shalleth not be." So this is a rare instance. That's the point, if true. But I got to tell you something. There are a couple facts that I point at that I think are almost conclusive by themselves. Sure, you can say, hey, there were all these conversations and people are going to come in and testify about them. But number one, the clerk of court wrote a book. The clerk of court. Who's looking for a book by the clerk of court? She's not a lawyer. She's not a party. She's not a witness. She wasn't even on camera in a trial that was completely televised. So that tells me alone that she has a rather unusual view of her own importance in a trial. And that alone implies to me that maybe she saw her role as more important than it was. The clerk of court handles paying fines, assembling jurors for grand juries and civil juries and criminal juries. That is it. And the other part that I believe she admits to in her book is that she traveled with these jurors to do the TV rounds. Since when is the clerk of court's role, after a jury is dismissed, to go follow them around on press junkets? I don't think she's accompanying jurors in unimportant, low-profile cases to the supermarket. I don't think she's standing in line with them at the DMV. For whatever reason, if she came to New York to travel with the jurors on their media tour, that makes no sense to me. Those are two facts that I believe, if true, and they appear to be true from the face of the motion and the exhibits, are really concerning.
What about during a trial? The clerk of court, what is the role? Or is she supposed to have interactions with the jury?
There are people that interact with a jury, and especially so in a high-profile case. But even in a low-profile case that nobody cares about, the jurors are protected, and we rely on humans, people, to protect them, whether that's court staff, whether that's a bailiff, whether that's a U.S. Marshal. They are basically under the control of the courts, and that requires people to bring them lunch, to answer their questions. I have to go to the bathroom. This is, these are human beings, and people have to take care of them. So, yes, the clerk of court is involved. Not like this, not like, as alleged, going into side rooms and talking to them about the case. If this ends up being just sort of an offhand comment, look, those things happen. But as alleged, this appears to be much more than that. And those two facts I point to, the fact that she traveled with the jurors and the fact that she even wrote a book, give me cause to be concerned. Because clerks of courts, if you are interested in writing books and being famous, that ain't the job to get into. Go do something else.
So what happens next, and what is the likelihood that this could change the way things unfolded earlier?
In my view, this motion has enough documentary evidence and affidavits, which are sworn statements, to get to an evidentiary hearing. And if people testify consistently with what's in that motion, then there might be enough. Some of the things they allege this kind of Facebook false profile thing. I don't know that that's going to get a lot of traction, but some of the core facts I think are going to be difficult to get around. Now, of course, the clerk has denied it. She's called all of this crazy. But look, an exhibit in the motion appears to be her with a handwritten note on stationery for the county clerk, adding additional terms that promote her own book. In other words, a document that is me officially as county clerk. Oh, by the way, film crew, I demand that you promote my upcoming book. Allegedly, all in the motion, documentary evidence may prove to be false, but if true, it doesn't look good.
See what happens. This is a new one, huh? All right, Danny Zavalos, thanks so much.
Well, coming up, more fallout for Spanish soccer.
Yeah, Spain's women's soccer coach is now fired 2 weeks after he led the team to a World Cup title. It comes after the president of the Spanish Soccer Federation was suspended for kissing a female player. More on FIFA's investigation coming up. You are watching Morning News Now. We're back to financial headlines now. The FTC might be going after Amazon soon.
Wow, CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that. In other news, good morning, Silvana.
Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Julia. So listen to this. The Federal Trade Commission may file a lawsuit this month against Amazon after the company didn't offer any concessions to settle antitrust concerns. The Wall Street Journal reports the lawsuit will target Amazon's logistics program, pricing on its website by third-party sellers, and it will suggest remedies that could break up the company. Amazon and the FTC have declined to comment. Amazon has been criticized for allegedly favoring its own products over outside sellers. Universal Music Group is teaming up with streaming company Deezer to launch a new service they say will be designed to better reward artists. The service will launch first in France this year and expand to additional markets. And the aim is to pay artists more fairly, giving them what the companies call a double boost while reducing the influence of algorithms. And Chuck E. Cheese is throwing free birthday parties for 500 lucky winners. The drawing for the big day of birthdays will be held at multiple locations across the country tomorrow from 6 to 7:30 p.m. local time. They'll hold a live giveaway where you can win a party package for up to 10 kids, and it includes unlimited games, food, and a live birthday show with Chuck E. Cheese himself. The contest is being offered in honor of the most popular birthday each year, which is September 9th. I'm wondering if there's an age limit for this, because as a kid, I always wanted to party at Chuck E. Cheese, and my mom couldn't afford one. So I'm wondering if I can win this thing.
I think you could just say you're a kid at heart, and that'll do the job.
All right. That'll do it, right?
Thanks so much. All right, turning to sports now. And the head coach of the Spanish women's soccer team has been sacked just weeks after guiding the team to its first ever World Cup. Jorge Vilda's dismissal comes after the president of Spanish Soccer's Federation was suspended for kissing a player on the lips during the team's trophy celebrations. NBC News foreign correspondent Kelly Cobiella joins us now for more on this. And Kelly, another twist in this scandal engulfing Spanish soccer. Why was Vilda sacked, and how is he reacting to that decision?
Yeah, Stevens, Vilda said he didn't see it coming. He said it was unfair and undeserved. In fact, in an interview with Spanish radio, he said he had just been given a new contract and a raise 10 days ago. But he was considered to be a close ally of the embattled Spanish Federation president, Luis Rubiales. He applauded him when Rubiales refused to resign, then later issued a statement condemning Rubiales' behavior. He had also been under fire since last year after 15 players refused to play and called for his resignation over what they said was micromanaging, and they also questioned his coaching techniques. Now, the Spanish Football Federation's interim president gave no specific reason for Vilda's dismissal. He said the board was making structural changes, and a statement from the federation praised Vilda for the growth of women's soccer and also for leading the team to their first World Cup win. In fact, on the social media, they said, gracias, Jorge. So really a very positive statement coming from the federation.
It's just so hard to ignore the timing behind all this. And Kelly, so talk to us about the replacement. I understand she's the first woman to coach the national team. Is that right?
That's right. Her name is Montse Tomé. She's one of Vilda's assistant coaches. She's 41, former professional player. She played for the powerhouse Barcelona, won a league title with Barcelona as well. But she's been Vilda's assistant coach on the national team since 2018. The federation said she also has been a key player in the Spanish team's growth. And there was some talk about the players really wanting a woman at the head of the team going forward. Stephen.
Certainly understandable. And we understand Spain's Soccer Federation, they've apologized for the actions of the now suspended president. So what are they saying, and what's the latest on FIFA's investigation?
Yeah, very long, involved statement about that incident. They said the incident caused enormous damage to Spanish football, Spanish sport, and Spanish society, and that Rubiales' actions do not represent the values of the federation or Spanish society as a whole, and that he alone had to take responsibility for them. Just as a refresher, Rubiales kissed midfielder Jenny Hermoso on the mouth during the World Cup ceremony, August 20th, the medal ceremony. He said it was consensual. She said she felt vulnerable and a victim of aggression. As for the investigation, FIFA has banned Rubiales for 90 days. Their disciplinary committee is investigating whether he violated Article 13. That's a part of the code which deals with offensive behavior and behaving in a way that brings sport into disrepute. They haven't said anything about how that investigation is going, but Rubiales has said in the past several days that he's innocent. He's vowed to use that investigation to prove his innocence. Stephen.
All right, more to come. Kelly, thank you.
Princess Diana was known to many as a fashion icon. From her stunning revenge dress to the wedding dress of the century, her closet has become just one part of her lasting legacy. Now, some of her pieces are on sale and available to the public. Today's show anchor Savannah Guthrie takes a look back at the pieces that stole headlines everywhere.
Princess Diana was a global phenomenon.
Sorry, I didn't see you there.
Her fairy tale wedding to Prince Charles in 1981 was watched by 750 million people. It began a legacy not just of the glitz and glamour of royal life, but the Princess of Wales using her platform and star power to make a difference. She drew attention to pressing issues such as AIDS and landmines in Angola. She had a profound impact on parents worldwide, so often present for her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, even while juggling royal duties.
In terms of her legacy, it is shining as bright as ever across the nation, and top of the list remains the fact that she used her platform to help those less fortunate than she was.
And Diana's fashion choices are still talked about today, too. She made headlines dancing with John Travolta at the White House. She went against royal tradition, foregoing gloves so she could shake hands with the public. And, of course, that unforgettable revenge dress.
I think in many ways, Princess Diana was the original influencer. She really steered fashion with the choices she made.
One of Princess Diana's most iconic looks, the black sheep sweater. Then Lady Diana Spencer wore the playful sweater to a polo match in 1981, instantly causing a frenzy, transforming the small knit shop, Warm and Wonderful, into a global brand.
Diana found out very early that everything she wore was analysed. People were trying to see hidden messages in all her clothes. It was decided that she loved this sweater because the black sheep perhaps represented her, that she wasn't following the herd when it came to her fashion choices or even other choices she was making, that she was prepared to be a bit different.
In 2020, the black sheep sweater was featured in an episode of Netflix hit show The Crown. That same year, Warm and Wonderful reissued Princess Diana's signature sweater to high demand. More than 25 years after her death, Princess Diana's effortless style and impactful life continue to inspire.
Our thanks to Savannah Guthrie for that report. You can see Princess Diana's sweater on display at Sotheby's in New York starting tomorrow until September 13th. It's free to see it. The sweater's not free and open to the public. Coming up, dominating the court.
Yeah, American tennis marking a major milestone yesterday. For the first time in more than 50 years, 4 Black Americans played in the quarterfinals. We've got all the highlights coming up next.
Welcome back. So if you've ever found yourself doing an impression of the sounds that Star Wars lightsabers make, you're in good company. Liam Neeson has revealed that he made the noises while filming his first lightsaber scene in The Phantom Menace with Ewan McGregor. Star Wars creator George Lucas actually had to tell them, hey, boys, we can add that in later. Neeson told the funny story on the podcast Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, and it seems he wasn't the only person to have a problem like this. A few years back, Laura Dern admitted she couldn't stop saying, pew, 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 when she fired her gun in The Last Jedi. According to some eagle-eyed fans, you can even actually see her mouthing that in the movie. Stephen, you are a Star Trek person, right?
Yes, I don't discriminate, though. I've got the whoom, whoom.
Is that the equivalent? Yeah, see,
I'll be doing that all day.
That's good. All right.
Yeah, I do that anyway. All right, Joe, thanks so much. Yep. Finally this hour, America's tennis players are leading the charge at this year's U.S. Open. 2 of the youngest stars are in the semifinals, and it's been history-making tournaments so far for American tennis. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk has more.
Hey there, American tennis is having a moment, and it's even sweeter on U.S. soil. For the first time in more than 50 years, 4 Black Americans reached the quarterfinals, and 2 of them, Coco Gauff and Ben Shelton, just punched their tickets to the semis, leading this new generation of talented American tennis stars.
Overnight, history unfolding at center court. 20-year-old Ben Shelton taking on 25-year-old Francis Tiafoe. The first time 2 Black American men have faced off in the U.S. Open quarterfinals. And it was a nail-biter. After 4 sets on a humid New York night, Shelton using his high-speed serve to beat his friend and fellow countryman. The young star celebrating his win with the crowd. Shelton now the youngest American man to reach the semifinals since Andy Roddick in 2003.
A lot of Americans, we love that.
Americans are indeed having a moment. Earlier Tuesday, 19-year-old tennis superstar Coco Gauff smashed her way to her first ever U.S. Open semifinals, winning her 10th match in a row, defeating Latvian Jelena Ostapenko in straight sets.
I think today was definitely the best that I played all tournament, regardless of the score.
She's the first American teen to reach the U.S. Open semifinals since Serena Williams, more than 2 decades ago.
She's my idol, and I think if you told me when I was younger that I would be in these same stat lines as her, I would freak out.
When Williams stepped away from the sport after last year's U.S. Open, many wondered what American tennis would look like without her. But now Gauff and her fellow American players are proving they have what it takes to fill those very big tennis shoes. But not every American made it through. Novak Djokovic beat Taylor Fritz. Continuing his streak, he has never lost to an American at the U.S. Open. The number 2 ranked Serbian celebrating his win, singing a Beastie Boys tune.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
Djokovic is heading into his 47th semifinal match, passing Roger Federer with the most Grand Slam semifinals ever, with a new generation of American tennis stars looking to hold serve on their home court.
We have a real opportunity to get some trophies, maybe on all ends of the event, and that would be really exciting, but it's a great time to be an American tennis player.
Before their next singles match, we'll have more chances to watch these Americans on the court today. Coco in women's doubles, Ben in mixed doubles. And just to give you some perspective on Ben Shelton's meteoric rise, a year ago, he was ranked number 165. But come next Monday, he'll be among the top 20 players in the world. Back to you.
A lot of excitement, Stephanie. Thanks.
All right, that's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But your news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.